Hello! Today we will be playing with electricity! You will need your supply bag, your paper circuit printout. You will also need a few additional but not optional supplies. You will need a sharpened writing utensil. You will also need scissors and a small length of tape. Here we go, guys. Let's get some started. First, we're going to take our bag of supplies and carefully dump it out onto our work surface. Let's get to know these supplies just a little bit better now. In your supply bag, you should have a piece of copper tape. Copper is a type of conductive metal. If something is conductive, that means that it will allow electrons to easily flow through it. Yes, conductive electrons will easily flow through it. If it is an insulator instead of a conductor, well, that means that electrons would not be able to flow through it. This is our conductor, copper tape. We have our power source. Though our power sources may be slightly different in their diameter and their width, they are basically the same thing because they're all 3-volt coin button cell batteries. You will also find 3 LEDs. Now, what do the LED stand for? They stand for light emitting diode. It's a diode that emits or produces light when you give it enough electricity. On these light-emitting diodes, let me zoom in for a moment. Zoom. You will see that your light-emitting diode has a long side and a shorter side. That's important to pay attention to. Your long side is your positive end. Your short side is your negative end. Positive is where the electrons go in. Negative is where the electrons travel back out. If we look on our battery, on one side of your battery, you will see that there's a plus sign. Right there. Here's my plus sign. If I put my battery from positive side, connect it to a positive side of my LED, and pinch the wires together, it should make the LED light up. Now, if you try this and it doesn't work, take your LED, flip the sides, and try it again. And it should work. This is the basic concepts that we're going to be using today. Conductivity and parallel circuits. Now, remember back to the Nearpod, if it worked for you, that is. Remember back to where it was talking about circuits. A series circuit would look something like this. We would have a battery or some kind of source of power. We would have some type of conductor that creates a loop. And on that loop, we would have lights that happen in a series. So one after the other, after the other. Series circuit. This circuit is a pretty effective circuit until one of your bulbs gets burnt out. If a bulb gets burnt out, then the circuit, the path that these electrons take to make these little bulbs work, part of the circuit is now broken. Because whenever a bulb burns out, it means that the filament, the conductive stuff that's inside, has actually been broken. And because the electricity doesn't have a way to flow up in here and then back out because it's broken, that makes the whole thing stop working. Oh, I know it's awful. We will be working with a parallel circuit today. So we will have our source O power. We will have conductive material. And we will be creating, instead of just one loop that goes around, we will connect multiple loops together. We will have a light bulb, boop, and then we'll have another one, and then we'll have another one. Parallel circuits are parallel. What does that even mean? Whenever something is parallel, it means it's going the same exact way, the same exact angle. It could go on forever and ever, like railroad tracks. Those are things that are parallel. These circuits are parallel. Here's one loop. Here's another loop. Here's another. Our parallel circuit will have 1, 2, 3 loops. Now, parallel circuits are great because if one of these bulbs gets burnt out, yep, that bulb stops working. But because there are separate loops, because this loop is separate from this one, is separate from this one, this guy in the middle being burnt out will not affect the functionality of these other bulbs, which is perfect for what we're doing. Now that we've freshed up a little bit on our electrical knowledge, let's begin building our paper circuit. Oh! One thing to think about whenever you are using copper tape as a conductor, your conductive material needs to stay in a single piece to be as effective as it can be. I'll show you what I mean. First, I'm going to measure about how long this part is. Then I'm going to hold my finger. Maybe I'll even put a little mark. Boop. I'll measure about how long this piece is, and I put it in a mark. That mark is where I will be cutting. Here come my scissors. So you need to measure how much conductive copper tape that you need, then give it a little snip. We're going to peel the paper off of the back of the copper tape. This can be the most difficult part. There it is. Because it rolls up. If I were you, I would just peel it off a little bit at a time. Because if not, you're going to have this to deal with. This roly-poly mess. Okay, it's mostly unstuck for me. I'm going to start up here at the top and lay down my copper tape. It's going to follow down the line. Whenever I get to this corner, instead of breaking or cutting the tape and then putting the next piece perpendicular to the first, I am going to make a corner by folding it back, then folding it forward, if it will cooperate. Sometimes it acts like it doesn't want to, and if it doesn't, that's okay. It's sticky on one side, you can push it right on down, and it should still work. Now, for this next piece of copper tape, I will show you a different way to do this business. Instead of taking all the paper off all at once, I guess I could unzoom it a little bit. Ah, now I can see everything. I'm going to peel it off just a little bit at a time. I'll place it up here. I'll peel it off a little bit at a time, so that way it doesn't get all rolled up and stuck to itself. If you're at home, that's going to be extra important, because if it gets rolled up and stuck to itself to where you can't use it, well, then it'll be really hard to try and complete this activity with us today. Okay, I folded it this way. See? Now I'm going to fold it back the other way. Hiya. And I will continue it on all the way to the end of the line. It's the end of the line for you, fella. If you have extra copper tape, well, that's fine. We can just snip it with our scissors. All right, so we have 2 pieces of copper tape that are continuous. That means there's no breaks in them. If your copper tape should happen to break, it's all right. Copper tape can be stuck back together because it is sticky. Having it in a single piece does enable the electricity to flow a little bit smoother than having electricity to flow from this piece and then have to jump from this piece to another piece that's been laid this way. All right, once our copper tape is there, our next step is going to be to fold along this line. When you fold, this side of your page is going to end up just above the bottom of this littler L. So just enough to cover up that circle where your battery's going to go. Now fold it down. All right. Now for the next part. We're going to take this whole thing and we're going to fold it in half. Yes, I said half. We're going to fold it. Make sure that the crease on this side is nice and tight. You make sure a crease is nice and tight by either using your fingernail and pushing it down, or you could use the side of a pencil and you could push it down. So that way it stays closed when we want it to, and it opens when we want it to, but it doesn't come open when we don't want it to. That's the plan. Next, we're going to want to open it up. There are 3 X's on the side of your template. You will need your writing utensil for this part. Carefully, you're going to support your paper with one hand on the back side, and you're going to poke a hole through the center of each of these X's. I have holes in my paper, but that's okay. They're supposed to be there. Our next step, we're going to alter our LEDs. We're going to change them. Right now, these stems are straight. We're going to let them stay straight, but we're also going to bend them at a 90-degree angle, straight out, like that. Oh, he's dancing. He needs to dance with the other side too, though. You're going to bend him down like this. All right, just like this. I'm going to do that to the rest of my LEDs. Be careful when you do this, especially if you're at home, because if you break these little bits, these conductive wires off of your LED, it may make it very, very, very difficult, especially if you don't have LEDs laying around your house. Oh, that yellow one just jumped out of my hand. Did you guys see that? That was crazy. All right, I'll give you a little bit to get caught up. Get caught up, get caught up. All right, now for the tough part. You need to make sure that the long side and the short side stay on the same side. Let me show you what I mean. Right now I have my long side to the right. I'm going to make sure that as I put my LEDs through these holes, each one is going to have its long side on the right. If your LED doesn't fit through the hole, well, that's okay. You can poke it a little bit bigger with your pencil. As you poke it through, the tension of the paper against the LED should pretty much hold them in there. But but we're going to do something a little bit extra just to make sure they don't get lost. I'm going to grab me a piece of tape. Hopefully I don't drop everything on my table. Oh, that's too much of a piece of tape. Hi-ya! I'm going to lay a piece of tape right down the center of my LEDs to make sure that they stay put. Because I don't want them to be doing any jumping around or gyrating or anything wild while I'm trying to make my light work. All right. I got my LEDs down. I got my copper tape down. Now, it's time for the light show, y'all. Your battery. Let's see which way it works. I'll start with my negative side up. I will close the circuit by folding down that corner and holding it there. I will close this envelope type thing. Bloop. I see that my light is not lighting up. So if that happens, it's okay, guys. We'll take the battery. We will reverse the polarity. That means we're going to take it and flip it. And we'll try again. I have a stoplight. I have a yellow light. And I have a go, go, go. This is our paper circuit, guys. If you don't feel like holding it there with your finger forever in a day, that's why I've included this beautiful, wonderful technological marvel. It's called a paper clip. We can use it to clip our battery into place, rendering our stoplight usable. Yes. Guys, I hope that you have fun doing this. I know it can be tough and frustrating, but if you keep at it, I know you can do it.